The question is, why are rough stock guys so much cooler than time event guys? In Dale Brisby's mind.
I kill my own food.
Xavier Legette eats raccoons. You?
I'm sorry?
So the wide receiver from the Carolina
No,
Panthers? Yes, he does.
Attaboy. Bad to the
So
bone.
did you-
What do you think about politics? Raccoons, man. I hate raccoons. I think even insurance companies place bareback riding above bullfighting.
How many little hoppers me and Ty can get on?
Yeah, I got one.
Whoa. We talked about this before. You and Brogan can get on.
We call them dinks, but yeah, I got one dink.
Played basketball right over here at Shriner. Let's see how good you
I
can
played
ride a bull.
college basketball. I mean, where do you think I'm at?
Do I think the skills will transfer?
Yes, sir.
No.
Joe Rogan.
You know, for those people out there mad thinking I'm some goober, well, like, damn, you could have started a decade ago and done the same thing.
I only put
But
it
you
in
didn't.
Good luck
years.
to you.
But you didn't, so Joe called me instead.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sorry, but you're stuck with me. And if you don't get the joke, then it goes over some people's head, I guess.
Big leagues, baby.
Jeez.
It's been leveling up.
Dude, it's crazy. Sometimes you should be in our little studio when we get started sometimes. So Mickey Mouse.
Oh, dude, you should.
Some of our conversations.
That's definitely on my list of questions, man. Like, how do you juggle everything you do?
Like distribution of like the content you're talking about, just all the different.
Yeah, just the content. I mean, the people with the cameras and this and that, and I need you to do this. It just seems like a nightmare when I.
It's
try
an
to do
operation.
anything.
Yeah.
It's an operation. It feels like a nightmare to me. I mean,
Well, that's the job part. You know, like it's funny that you say that because earlier we were talking about all of our friends that think we do nothing. You know, like we've got so many friends that they watch a video and they literally think that 5 days a week, 7 days a week, that video where we're having fun. It's like, no, that video was our break. That was almost, once the video ends, then the work starts. And it takes so much. And then you do all this work and then you don't have the audio or the camera's out of focus or it's a grind, but it's fun.
Cole knows all about that camera not being in focus.
What are the hate comments like for you? You get a lot of hate comments? You used
read
to it?
comments.
Oh, yeah,
you read
for
them?
sure.
You used to them by now,
Dude,
thick
there's
skin?
like a club out there.
Oh, yeah.
Of people that, yeah, man. I mean, for sure. It's so bad.
Do you
Yeah.
read them? Joe Rogan
Yeah.
says don't read comments. What's Del Brisby's thought on that?
Yeah, Joe is on a whole nother level. I go to the comments to really, because I got to pay attention. I feel like I'm obligated to pay attention to the people that are fans.
Right.
It's hard. I mean, if you get 42 comments on a post and 2 of them are negative,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good percentage.
Great
you know,
percentage.
I don't know what 2 out of 40 is, but somewhere around 5%, 6%.
No.
But anyway, and so it's hard to, but those are the ones you think about. Well, like I try to get on there to really focus on and it also depends. Like sometimes it's just somebody who maybe doesn't get the joke or like a kid with a ghost account. You know, what would really make me stay awake at night was like if you were to, like a respectable, there's people out there that are, but like there's certain people that the way they hate and where they're coming from, especially if they don't get the joke, I'm just not going to care about their opinion.
Yeah.
But like if one of your peers in rodeo who like knows you was to go on there and say something, that's where you're like, oh, dang, that kind of hurts,
That was fun. I mean, I would never even notice it, like without Cole, the stuff that he does and all the focus and everything. So do you have to be sharp on all that? I mean, to get to where the back ends of, the editing and this and that. Like, how do you stay on top of the game all the time?
Yeah, like an intern. Hey, Dale, video didn't come out right. Hey, audio for the podcast cut out.
I mean, it just depends. Sometimes something happens and it's out of our control. Like we had the last podcast equipment we had prior to this that was Mickey Mouse, which was my fault because I didn't invest in better equipment. It would you'd get rolling, and for 4 minutes it'd be rolling. We all see the numbers, going up, the timer on, and then it would quit like 5 minutes in. Like we did our early podcast with William Clark Green when we were kind of getting started, and that was a big name. And just no audio. We had to use the camera audio, and it just sounded like crap. But
Well, that's what we were talking about.
they're usually more hard on themselves.
Yeah.
Like Cole Snyder that works for me, brilliant mind, hilarious. ideas, but he will just like bonehead stuff sometimes, and he'll just like forget to put an SD card in something. And
It happens to the best.
He's
of us.
way harder on himself than I would have to be.
You were a pickup man yesterday, San Antonio Rodeo, Ranch
Rodeo.
Rodeo.
was
Yeah, at
going
the
on, I
Ranch
think.
Rodeo. They're pretty strict now these days in the PRCA. Used to, if you just had your PRCA card, you could go pick up. But these days, you have to get approved like a bullfighter. And so I'm not PRCA approved to pick up, but Binion and Chase, every year I come over here and I'll pick up the Ranch Rodeo.
I seen a video. I seen a video today. Actually, it was a story, and you reposted it. It said, "Dale, help that man out." Horse. He got on your horse, and he fell off on his back pretty hard, and they were flaming you on the story.
That was his fault.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, he went behind me. What you want me?
You know which
I don't
video I'm
what you want
talking
me to
about,
do. You want me
too?
to catch you back there.
Yeah, no, he like brushed the butt of the horse, and he just ate it.
Dude,
That's all it
I
did.
was just telling you the other day, we need to get a pickup man on just to talk about that, because that's probably the biggest thing that goes untalked about in rodeo or unsaid is
Yeah.
how talented and great those guys are, and how important the job is. I was talking to a guy today like about how when the colts are coming across and getting seasoned and stuff, how if the pickup man, how they ride, for that certain colt might ruin them or might make or break them. Anyway,
We've been wanting to just get out to rodeos and leave that camera rolling because these pickup men, I mean, they'll get in wrecks, and in 2023, pickup man just toppled over on a horse, and I didn't even get it on video, but the pickup men,
What rodeo?
Salinas, California.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they get it. Them pickup men, they get into some stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm not especially good at, like last night, sometimes when I'm reaching back for the flank and, so I get kind of stretched out like this and I get to turning my horse right too much. And so now he's going in a real tight circle where the other pickup man's riding on the outside of the horse. And now he's like on the outside of and he's having to whoop and spur because he's trying to get to the back cinch. But so I needed to like straighten and Chase had to yell at me one time. He's like, straighten him out. And so Randy could catch up. There's like little things like that. How you can pick them up too, the horse that is, like during the ride. And you got to be careful of like hiding because those horses will come to other horses. There's a lot of little things where I'm just like so nervous that I want to do the right thing and then you end up not. Mm-hmm. I can, for the most part, help a cowboy off, grab a rein, do the stuff, But I could definitely get away with a lot of it at an Ammy rodeo. But when I'm in the arena with Chase Servey, it's pretty obvious who the amateur is and who the professional is.
for sure.
You got to know a lot about your horse and handling your horse, and then you got to like read the bucking horse. Like you got to, and then not just any horse will do it. Like some of those, if they go in there,
They get skittish.
and like stop, or
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting kicked in the knee. You're getting like you gotta. It takes like a big, strong, fast, catty, athletic horse to go in there. And
Yeah.
some of them like it. They'll bump up against them and.
And the bucking horses are bigger, so it's going to be a bigger horse, too.
Right. Some of them, you got to like drag out a big, stout horse.
Not no calf roping horse, sure.
Well, that's what I was talking about with Zeke. We were like, the bronc riders are so good, the pickup guys are so good, the horses are so good. People don't realize how hard it is and what could all go wrong.
Right.
Very rarely do you see wrecks with pickup man or whatever because their horses are great. They're great. You're in there with a Chase Servey. I mean, it's just a totally different level. It makes things look a lot easier than it is.
Yeah, you're also talking about the kind of rodeos, you're going to. You get to see that level of pickup man everywhere. There's some rodeos that, I mean, yeah, if you're Ty Harris, like you're going to the big ones. Talking about Salinas, like they're not going to have just any old random Joe at some of those rodeos,
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you, too. You think of Dale Brisby, and you think of probably the biggest Western content creator on the planet. I mean, truthfully, you've become tons of YouTube subscribers, tons of Instagram followers, been doing this for 10 plus years. You have the resume and the views, you're actually tied in talking about pickup and stuff. You're tied into actual rodeo community too, like real rodeo cowboy making great content. What do you think about that being like, it's Yellowstone and Dale? I mean, what do you think about that weight? Do you feel a weight, or what is it like being to the common world? You're kind of people's first impression of the rodeo.
No, I appreciate it very much. Man, sometimes like I get out at the house, like we'll be filming. Like I live in a little bitty town, 300 people, and we'll buck some horses or make a video or do a podcast, and it let's say it does really well, and even people comment, but you're still kind of removed from reality. And then I'll come to a booth, and people show up. And like a little kid will walk up, and it's just a reminder of like, oh, those are real people watching.
Yeah.
Like that's a real view. That's a real comment. There's a real people behind those profiles. And so really when I get face to face with like a kid, and what's been even heavier is now I'm like starting to run it. So like 10 years, the first video was 2013. So that was 12 years ago. Well, like if a kid caught me, you know, when he was 11, now he could be 21 now,
Yeah.
22. And so that's pretty heavy too, like just the kind of content, and also how I treated people 10 years ago is now these people are adults, and are they still a fan? So that, I guess, which is a little more tied to, I don't know, maybe the word for it would be legacy, but
You know what's funny too? His younger brother Joel. You know Joel? Joel Braden, calf roper. He's a second year guy, but
yeah.
we were talking. I was like, what should we ask Dale? He goes, literally, I remember being 8 years old saying old son, literally, and he's that age. He's 21 now, or 22. He just turned 22. So he's that demographic you're talking about. He was 8 years old saying old son.
Yeah. No, that's the heaviest part, is the thing that's heaviest that weighs on me when I'm filming would be the fact that kids are watching. And yes, that they're going to grow up, but also just the fact that, like, are we being kid friendly? Are we being kid appropriate?
With JB, that's probably pretty tough too.
Yeah, sometimes we got, but like JB doesn't.
Good. Hey, editor.
We bleep out some words. We do, and people get mad about that. They're like, if you're going to have somebody like that on, you don't need to bleep it out. It's like, golly, how am I going to keep everybody happy?
Yeah, what do you do?
But we just turn the volume down. We actually don't use a bleep button, but that would get annoying. But no, the thing I respect about JB is he is JB, whether, no matter who's around. And so like, I don't mind having him in my content, cause he's so authentic to who he is. But yeah, just like being clean overall, like to kids. Cause I mean, sometimes we're guys and we're in rodeo, and you know, we're not, I don't think we're vulgar, but you know, we just try to really make sure that it's a kid show. That would be the heaviest thing. But as far as people's first introduction to rodeo and the Western industry, like I appreciate, I welcome that, just because that's always been a priority of mine. Like to you know, there was a temptation to change the name of the podcast, you know, just like we talked about it at one time, because I would interview pretty much whoever I was interested in. So there would be military, musicians.
Yeah.
It was mostly rodeo cowboys, but I was like, no, I'm going to dance with the one that brung me. Like, I love rodeo, and, you know, we're going to try to take it with us to the moon, you know, or whatever hypothetical moon there is. I'm not.
What is your moon? I mean, what is a goal like a guy like you have goal wise, now that you've had Netflix, YouTube success, Instagram success? I mean, what's next? What's the goal for you?
Man, to be honest, like, I want to stay in business. Like, I love my life. I love what I get to do. You know, I get to day work. I get to go to rodeos. We buck bulls or broncs at the house once a week or twice a week, every week. I mean, it's got to be 10 degrees for us to take a pass on a week. Yeah. And, yeah, I live in that little town. I love sitting around with guys like yourselves, like this right here, talk about rodeo. And so my goal is 10 years from now, I'm still doing this. So that means that's the motivation for grind. I definitely don't have like a monetary goal. I don't necessarily have, I've got some content goals, I guess you could call them. Like, I want to get this much done. I don't necessarily have a follower goal, but if a guy asked me, where do I want to be in 5 years? Like, I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing today in 5 years. To be
Good
honest,
place to be.
Pretty good way to live.
yeah, that I don't know.
Contentment seems like too is a good word for it. You're just content where you're at.
So the empire that you built, I have a lot of questions about it. But first off, how did that get started? I was listening to Joe Rogan on the way here, your podcast with Joe, and you were talking about prank calls in 2010.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, or like just how did this happen?
Yeah, 15 years since the first prank call. So 2010 we started prank calling, and then 2013 it turned into a video. And yeah, man, we just
Kids, they did not have caller ID in 2010. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, no, man, we would do all kinds of different prank calls. Like, you know how you can add a call? So like I would call maybe you in this room, and then I would add a call and you add a call at the exact same time. And so they're both their phones both ring, and they would both need to pick up at the same time, but they both, so like we would connect like random, blonde chick in class with car dealership in Dumas, Texas. And by the end of the call, they're trying to sell her a car and she's thinking about buying one. Yeah. And the car dealership thinks she called, and anyways, like we would do like stuff like that. And I would call people and tell them to come get their radiator. Most of it not on video, obviously, for 3 years because we were just having fun. And then, in 2013, we started putting them on videos and turned Rodeo Time from a YouTube video into an apparel line, which is a whole nother story. I found that cap in a flea market type. If you go to Woodstown, I don't know, you probably don't.
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah, Woodstown, Piles Grove. My buddy Weston said you got to go, but I haven't made it yet.
It's cool. That's a long way to drag a trailer, but we flew up there and I was fighting bulls. I found this old Rodeo Time cap and used that in the first video. Well, then I called the guy who made it in the 80s and bought the copyright from him and turned it into my trademark. So like we made it all legit. And before I made it my trademark, I bought it. And anyways, Rodeo Time, the apparel line, kind of, that's been what's the main source of revenue that's kind of helped fund all the videos. So,
wow.
And then sponsors helped, but yeah, then it was just a formula of, for them to be interested, we have to be interesting, so for people to want to watch, you got to give them something worth watching.
There you go.
So, and that it's just, and one day I've probably got like a small, tiny group of core fans that involve like my mom and aunt and grandmother that will probably never leave me. And then maybe a few other like fanatical fans. But if I stop being funny, or I stop being interesting, stop having good conversations, people will stop listening. They will stop watching. For sure.
Well, when are you going to start making timed event content?
Why
don't you like the timed event guys?
The question is,
timies on.
why are rough stock guys so much cooler than timed event guys in Dale Brisby's mind?
I've done like a few like stereotype team roper videos. But I've also done stereotype bull riders. Like I've never really called out Tommies. Like if you notice, if you look at like my content, like I've never really, we make the occasional jokes like somebody would, but like I don't hang my hat on like hating on timed event,
I was hoping you did. It'd be good.
That would have been better
good topic.
for the podcast.
I wish you did.
Yeah, that would be funny. Like you had to really get me cornered in here.
Yeah.
But no, I'd
pull up an old clip of something you said.
To be honest, like I think everybody knows a Dale Brisby type personality, whether you're a calf roper, a bull rider, a fisherman, whether you're like a bodybuilder, like just that guy who he's always one upping you. He's got the story, we've seen the Dale Brisby bull rider in the bar. We all know him. So I think people can relate to that. But so if you're a Dale Brisby, you're probably offended, but I'm never going to have like a People of Walmart account. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I love Ed Bassmaster, but a lot of his content is him and the public and how they respond to him. And I'm that's not my style.
So like you said, if you don't put funny stuff out there, no one's gonna listen. How do you come up with the ideas and the videos that you do? Like, I mean, is that a you thing? Is that you and the interns get together, write a list, guys? I'm gonna pick what I like. I mean, how does Del Brisby pick what he's gonna post and stay relevant for all these years, and plans on doing it for 10 more years?
Yeah. No, to be honest, like, I don't want to say that's the easy part, but it is simple. So, like, the different types of content we put out, podcast and vlogging, those would fall under documenting, which is that's the easiest way to get content is document. So, like, for instance, last night I picked up and we documented that. It's the guys are filming me. I'm mic'd up. Like, what's going to happen? I don't know, but we're going to film it. Yeah. Then there's creating. So documenting, and then the creation part would be like a skit. Like, we're going to, like, for instance, bull rider stereotypes, or a you ain't no cowboy, or a 67-year-old rancher. Those would be like technically scripted skits. And so those do take some time to plan and whatnot. And that's what I originally did, and that's what I kind of cut my teeth on in the early days. And so I enjoy them very much. But the vlogging is the easiest, because, and that's where people begin to start thinking like, oh, they just, dilly-dally around all day. Because, like, when you watch a vlog, which is primarily on YouTube, and you can get shorts for it for Instagram and TikTok, but, like 12, 15, 18, 20-minute vlog, like, people don't want to see you, sad or grumpy or whatever. Like, I had a good time today. Like, if I was going to have a conversation with a new editor, like, we had a blast bucking in the arena. I want the audience to see that. And so those are the two types of content. As far as longevity, man, just the sky's the limit. Basically, you got to be able to relate to people. And if we do like a calf roper stereotypes, it would be harder for me because I'm not a calf roper, but so like that would be, but like there's always going to be those little, that you're going to find value in that because you can relate to it. And so you got to find a way to relate to people. In
a way too, you're just a stand-up comedian kind of sorts. I mean, you could do stand-up with the types of skits. I mean, most of your reels too, I think I watched one yesterday, is 4-second reel of a joke. Yeah. It's like, it's comedic lines. I mean,
he'll just pop one off.
I know.
Yeah. A lot of people in our line of work do gravitate to that. Man, to me, I don't think for me personally, it's just a natural progression where I could just get booked to go stand up. Like, I think it would take a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, stand-up comedians talk about years and years of honing that craft. And so I think it is like a natural progression, but I don't want to put in that amount of, I like doing this thing.
Was there a time when you had that saying, Mama, I made it? Like, when did Del Brisby think I made it? I'm here.
It had to have been Joe. Joe
if it might have happened before. But I'm just asking.
There was a time a few years ago that, like, my dad, we weren't like, there were people in town more poor than we were. Like, I don't want to say there were people, when they say the bottom, it was lower than where I was, like I'm not, but I didn't realize till I was older when I realized I was a ribeye man. Uh-huh. Like, I realized looking back, like, oh man, I didn't care for steak because we had such, number one, we didn't eat it that often, but number two, it was just like, if we did eat it, it was a really crappy sirloin that, you know what I mean? Like, man, this is tough. Like, I don't want steak. But now, like, dude, I love a good ribeye, especially like a choice or a prime ribeye. Like, son, I don't think I've made it, but I do think I probably have more. It makes me sad to say this, but I have more than what we had growing up, And like, that's like it's a weird feeling. I don't know that it feels good even,
Right.
but it's like realizing that, man, I'm a ribeye man. I didn't even know I didn't know steak could be this good when I was younger.
Yeah.
Wait, so upbringing, I saw a video. You grew up fence over from 4.6s. Is that right?
When I was born, we lived on the Pitchfork Ranch, but we were only there for a few years. I don't remember it, but like that's where my dad was at West Camp, and they border the 4.6s.
Were you ever in a Yellowstone episode?
Yeah, I was in.
You were?
I think it was season 5, episode 8 or something. Okay. But it was funny because like nobody on the production crew like knew who I was. Yeah. Like I know Taylor and we're buddies, but like he didn't know I was going to be on the show. I was just day working that day at the 6s, and they do a really good job of like they want everything to be authentic. And my good buddy True Burson was the wagon boss there at the time, and me and him were, anyways, he invited me to come day work, and so I just happened to be. But yeah, it ended up, I saw Taylor at the Fort Worth Ranch Rodeo, and he was like, man, your followers loved that you were on Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Because it was just like
for
a few seconds.
Because I only watched the first 2 seasons.
I didn't have like a line.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a big, people recognized me, but it wasn't like a big.
Well, follow-up question. Who's more cowboy, Rip Wheeler or Dale Brisby?
So it was I just got to meet Jimmy, Jefferson White.
Okay.
Yeah, he was, because it was when they were down there, and, Jimmy went down to the.
Surely you're more cowboy than him.
Surely.
Yeah, yeah.
That ain't hard to do. Cole, Cole or Jimmy is a better question. Who's more cowboy?
I've came a long way.
I think he would probably default and let you win that. He does not claim to be. He's pretty. He's pretty non-cowboy, but he's okay with that. Yeah, he's such a nice guy. I rode around in the pickup with him for 2 days. He was super kind.
Well, so what do you think though?
He's got a huge head. Huge head. Yeah, he wears like I think it would be like a size 8 cowboy hat. Yeah.
I don't know what I wear. I think I wear.
But they used my leggings. So he used my leggings, and they were buying all like they had this. The production company had this huge trailer, and they bought everybody's stuff because they wanted it for the show. They wanted to have authentic Texas because they had some stuff from Montana, but it was like all cheesy. Like I'm not saying all my Montana stuff is cheesy, but they're like, hey, we bought this stuff in Montana, and we were like, no, never let your actors wear this. And so they were buying all of our stuff. And guys were and like $1,500 for like a set of leggings, and they were like, yeah, I can go get a new set for $800, and it was like awesome. Well, Jefferson White like wore mine, and he like literally off my legs, he's wearing them in the show. And I was thinking like, ooh, I'm about to sell these bad boys at the end of the show because everybody else was selling theirs. They were buying old hats. They were buying coats, ropes, just so they could have it as props for the set. They wanted because they were now on this historic ranch with all these cowboys.
Yep. And
the end of the show, like I was like thinking I can charge whatever I want because they got to have Jefferson's leggings, And she was like, yeah, we bought too many. We don't need yours. And gave them back to me. And she was like, we made a pattern out of them anyway. They like laid them out, made a pattern. I was like, oh, man.
So no selling on eBay.
I didn't get to sell them. But
Story's
they say
valuable.
Jimmy Hero on the inside of them. I guess. I don't know what hero means. But
you frame that too.
So Joe Rogan, first off, that's a 3-hour podcast. And it seemed like sharp the whole time. I mean, was he impressive guy to sit down and talk to, or what you think?
Yeah, he was
about that?
real curious about like rodeo, and like it blew his mind that it was a thing. Like he's really into MMA and UFC, and so he understands something getting a hold of us, like the chasing something, and a lot of us don't understand why you would want to fight every weekend, but so like he gets that side of it, but when you add an animal to the mix, it really blows people's mind. And so we talked about rodeo, some of the myths, and we talked about, the beef industry and ranching and some of the myths there. And he kind of got into farming. I don't know a lot about farming, so I didn't talk much about that. But
Seems like he knows a little bit about a lot. Like
Yeah.
the stuff that would come up, and he would like know all these random facts. I was
He's big on
impressed.
just the history of Texas. Like he's into that stuff,
We were-
wars and stuff.
he started following me. I went on Cam Haynes, and that's when he started following me. And that was in February. And then September, I harvested an elk and when I posted that, that's when he asked me to go on. So I think maybe he saw some stuff where I was hanging out with Cowboy. He and I just have a lot in common, and the elk thing I think was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he wanted to know about rodeo, and so like I followed Gary V for a long time. Y'all know Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if
Gary
you put out content, you got to follow. Well, like, I mean, I would listen to this guy. At one point I had to slow down because I was like, I am paying more attention to him than I am my Bible. Like, it was just, I consumed his stuff like it was almost like it was like the Bible, like I said. And he really hammered like the principles of so like, for instance, the 4 things I try to do every day. Create content, distribute content, engage with my community, business development. So like, I don't fill orders. I'm not above it. I have before, but like, I try to find somebody to fill orders because I need to either create, distribute, engage, or business development. Those 4 things. And when I rinse and repeat those 4 things, business will grow. And so like, those little types of lessons I learned from Gary Vee. Well, one thing he was saying is like, now with the internet, you can become the guy. You can become, and he would use like Pokemon was a thing. You remember Pokemon Go, where like people would go around and do the
craziest
and they try to like, there was like an app.
Yes.
Well, like if you had been the expert on all things Pokemon for however long, and then you're the expert on Pokemon, or at least like the person talking about it. Well, now the Today Show like catches wind of it, and they're like, we need to have somebody on to talk about Pokemon Go. Well, they're going to reach into that industry, and whoever
is the most
pops up first when they Google it, that's who they grab.
True.
And I think that's what happened with Rogan. So like, I'm out, like I'm creating content since 2013, and nobody else is. And so, you know, for those people out there mad thinking I'm some goober, well, like, damn, you could have started a decade ago and done the same thing.
I only put
But
it
you
10
didn't.
years.
Good luck to you, bro.
But you didn't. So Joe called me instead.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sorry, but you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing my damnedest to represent the industry and not only rodeo, but the beef industry, horses, all the things. I'm trying to promote all of that. My faith, number one. And if you don't get the joke, then it goes over some people's head, I guess.
So you go on Joe Rogan. You talk to him for a while. That was 23 or 24.
It was a year ago. Oh, so it would have been November 23.
November 23. 2 years before that, Netflix show came out.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? I mean, you're on Netflix, bro.
Yeah, it was fun. They don't have a lot of unscripted shows on Netflix like they do. Well, like right now they're doing like the Mr. Beast games.
Yep.
So like they don't do a lot of shows like that, which is but they wanted, all these networks want a cowboy show every 5 or 6 years. So like Yellowstone coming out, and they all, if every several years they want something cowboy, and I'm sure they just go through the different genres. You know, they'll get another boxing movie or something, or a space movie. But anyway, production company hit me up, and there were some things. It wasn't necessarily the way I would have structured the show, but I really kind of yielded, and I let them do it because I had never made a show. But looking back, I would have changed a few things. But overall, like, it was authentic in the sense that, like, you can't fake those buck-offs. The explosion was real. The yearling getting out was real. Like, we bought a bull at the sale barn, and he got out at the sale barn. That was real. None of that was staged, you know. The interviews afterwards, obviously, they frame the questions so they can tailor the story together. Jordan here was probably the biggest star of the show. She's, there's just not a lot of girl bull riders out there that are as professional as she is. So everybody loved that. And watching Donnie's story develop, even since then, people are in love with Donnie, which he hates. He hates.
You don't like it?
Yeah. I mean, he just doesn't like to be in the spotlight. No.
Donnie Daytona. I've heard all about him. I want to meet him.
What was one thing that surely a corporate America, non-Western movie making company, was there something that they were like, hey, we need to cut that? And you're like, no, like this is cowboy way.
It wasn't like necessarily my boss, but it was somebody on the production crew. They called me like a few months before we started filming, and he was like, hey, I just was going to say, you know, like there doesn't really need to be any guns out there for safety reasons. And I was like, oh, well, that's funny because we actually have them for safety reasons.
That's our safety.
And that was it.
Texas.
Nobody ever said anything else. But I like turned it right around. I was like, actually, I have a gun for safety. That's why I have it. And he didn't say anything after that. And it never got brought up. And because, I mean, I'm not one to just, you know, like, I appreciate my guns, but I'm not going to just like be out there randomly blasting stuff. So it was never an issue, and it was never going to be. But anyways, going back to your point, there wasn't anything necessarily that it was like, no, we have to keep this in there. It was more like there were some yeehaw moments that they wanted that they just didn't it took me a while to understand that, like, I would almost get offended. They would ask me to do or say something. But about a month into filming, I realized, like, oh, he just doesn't know necessarily what he's asking for, because, and I had to like look at the big picture of like ranching, and he's like, and I was like, I think you're trying to accomplish this, but the way in which you want me to do it is very corny, and we would never do that. Yeah. Like, for instance, they really wanted me to have a cattle drive where we had to like spend the night outside. I was like, man, I go to this one ranch, and this pasture is 14,000 acres. This one pasture, and we're still done at lunch. Like, it's you just like, don't need to.
Not gonna happen.
We don't necessarily need to
have tents. We're not gonna do that.
But like, anyways. But the way he was asking the question, you know, I just had to. I had a producer role, and not just a talent role. And looking back, I should have charged more for the producer role.
Yeah, what is the like? You had final say in?
No, I didn't.
No.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there were some things where I could have probably put my foot down, but like overall, like Netflix made the show, and there was a British guy was in charge of the showrunner, and the showrunners who I'd dealt with, who's like kind of like a director, and talking to the director, the British guy who was in charge of our show did not get the joke, did not think he didn't understand World's Greatest Bull Rider. Like, he just, this buckle, he would be like, why is that so big? You know what I mean? He just wouldn't get it, you know? And so that was one, like, we were kind of hamstringed there just because I know that there would have been somebody in that office that understood better what was going on.
Do you have your American buckle?
No, I don't.
Is it tiny?
I wanted to get my little tiniest buckle.
Yeah.
Up to yours, but all of them look small. Dude, I listened to Donnie's clip. That was freaking hilarious. When you're like, Donnie, you ever want to buckle? Not Donnie Gay.
Donnie Gay.
You ever want to buckle this big?
Yeah, that was quick on his part.
He's sharp.
Yeah.
He said, I want to cover that one up or whatever.
Donnie's a character.
Yes,
he would kind of, at first couple of years I met him, he kind of like looked at me from afar, but then he came around and.
But which is your deal? Because your setup is interns coming through, advancing in bull riding, getting bull riding going, probably starting from the ground up to getting better at bull riding. But then also with your interviews, with the content, you're very tapped into PRCA cowboys. I mean, we got Ty here, but you interview a lot of team ropers, a lot of PRCA cowboys. And so you literally have like the perfect balance of entry-level content. And then when the viewers progress, you kind of got those conversations that's going to funnel them into PRs, like professional rodeo fans, true fans, you know.
We got this guy that he came into the office. I interview people I'm interested in, for sure. You know, like getting to talk to Trevor. Like, I wish we could have talked for 4. Last week I had Derek Begay in here. You know, like I'm glad we were filming, but that was for me. You know, and it's like, but I did have a guy that had came into my office. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great asset to the office, but he's got this list of like this wish list of people that he wants to try to get on the podcast, of like celebrities, and I'm excited, and I will talk to them, but like I get super pumped about, for instance, the Wolfpack, Will Lowe, Tom McFarlane, Wes Stevenson. Royce Ford couldn't be there, but like, you know, if you've been following rodeo, it's like, dang, that's awesome. Yeah. Or some of these day work cowboys that don't even have social media.
Those are the ones that have been so interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing what, like you said, you talk to people that are interested in, and then obviously it makes it interesting. You sit there and have a good conversation. I mean, anywhere from Terry Bradshaw was one I was like shocked by, and then you're over there at his place, you know, and I didn't even know he had cutting horses and stuff. And then he goes to Derek Begay, to, like you said, these ranch working cowboys, and those are all like some of the coolest stories, really.
Yeah.
And you see it in the views too. You see those go crazy all the time, just because that's very relatable, interesting stuff. I mean,
well, and if you look at like what Joe does, like he'll have somebody on there that you might have not ever heard of, because he's interested in that topic and he wants to hear about it. And so, I don't know. I think that it doesn't have to be, you know, Terry Bradshaw was like super cool, especially like I wanted to talk to him because 4-time Super Bowl champ, but he's also got this love of horses, you know? And, so that was neat. But like Tim Washington, who worked on the Wagner Ranch for 50 years and, you know, does not have a Facebook. You know, his story was super cool too. You know,
characters.
Mark Cuban was interesting. I love basketball, and I also love Shark Tank.
I forgot about Mark Cuban. That was huge.
There were some people got mad at me for that,
but because he's liberal.
Well, when I brought him on, Joe was still running, and nobody was talking about Joe. Like any Democrat out there at that time, like the election hadn't like started to heat up yet, and so like nobody was talking. Like even Mark Cuban's like his social media was not. Well, then about the week my podcast came out, like it switched to Kamala, and then he kind of was like a cheerleader for her. But we talked for an hour. He gave me business advice. I go to Mavericks basketball games, and then I love Shark Tank, and so.
So as big as you are, I'm sure you've dealt with it a lot. Do you ignore it? What do you do when it comes to politics or whatever? You just try not to even.
No, I don't mind talking about it sometimes. Like, I mean, like right here, like obviously, you know, pro-gun, pro-life, you know, conservative, and definitely not afraid to say that, you know. But I think that it kind of when I first got started, I felt tempted, or I felt convicted is a better word, to like I needed to like preach more as a Christian. Like I just always felt like I needed to be called. I felt called to like share word behind the buck and shoots before we rode, you know. Sometimes getting on a bull will bring you to your maker, but so like I would share a few scriptures and I would, you know, lead a prayer. And so when I started making videos, none of it was planned. You know, I was just the class clown I was led me to making these funny videos. And I was talking to my buddy. He's a preacher in Dallas. His name's Jamin Roller, and he said, "Man, you don't have to. You can respect where God put you, and that's a comedian in rodeo, and you need to be a Christian comedian in rodeo. That doesn't mean every post has to be a sermon." And so, I kind of think a little bit along the same lines as politics. Yeah. You know, like I don't stay educated on current events. And I think if you're going to just really be like a political megaphone, then you at least need to know what's going on in Palestine, what's going on with, you know, Russia and all, you know, and I want to be where people go to escape that. But also I don't think it should be a surprise where I posted a picture the other day. There was a garage in between mine and my neighbor's house. We always go in and out. In the attic, there was a raccoon infestation. 9 raccoons in the attic of this garage. How disgusting is that?
Not much worse.
So
possums.
I killed them all, and it was so fun. We made the best video. and people are, I can't believe you would kill a raccoon. Are you really that surprised that the cowboy in Texas who, I don't know.
It's every childhood country kid doing that same thing, not on video.
Yeah, hunting, and are you
Killing
really
rabbits.
surprised I kill my own food? Like that's, anyways.
Xavier Legette eats raccoons. You?
I'm sorry?
So the wide receiver from the Carolina
No, he
Panthers?
doesn't.
Yes, he does. He talks about it. He'd go kill a coon and cook it and eat it.
Attaboy. That's bad to the
So
bone.
did you ate 9 raccoons?
What's
is what
his
you're
name?
saying?
No,
Xavier
hell no,
Legette.
I didn't.
You didn't eat.
Xavier? No, I didn't eat them.
Wide receiver for the Carolina
I was trying to get
Panthers.
them out of our dang house is what I was trying to do. You don't need to be in the attic, all right? Yeah, I got a video coming out like skunks. Dude, under the house, $4,000 in damage to the ducking. I'm about to kill some skunks. Y'all ever been in a house that skunk sprayed underneath?
No, sir.
Bro.
Yes, our house.
I'm
Last
gonna-
week you were going out of town. I told you. You walk in the house and it's just skunk. There was one underneath and got in that trailer house.
Get a 22
in there.
and kill the skunk.
Sir, it's the only option.
Humans, animals, way down below that, skunks, raccoons, porcupines, possums, ants, and wasps.
Glad we hit
Because
that back in
here's the
Snakes.
other thing about all those that I just mentioned. I just watched a horse die on my property from EPM. So, yes, I will kill a raccoon gladly. I will shoot it in its head because I just buried a horse.
Yep.
I gotta ask. You brought it up.
Sorry, that was my.
No, I would
good.
totally agree.
What do you think about politics? Raccoons, man. I hate raccoons.
F a possum and a raccoon?
That's what I think about politics. Freaking hate raccoons.
No, but I was about to ask a serious question too. So it's funny how it kind of weird.
I got passionate because people gave me a hard time. That's where I was going with it. I posted that picture and then people give me a hard time, and it's like, how are you really that surprised that the bull rider owns a 22 and shoots a raccoon with it?
That's how I felt about us making a Trump shirt. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
know
are
what
you
I'm saying?
really that surprised?
It's not even controversial.
You think
he
Joe
is our president
Biden
now, yeah.
and Kamala Harris are on our team?
You think they're not against us?
How you think they feel about rodeo?
Exactly. I didn't say nothing negative about
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm glad Trump is the president.
Sorry,
My bank
yeah.
account's even happier.
So am I. Everybody's got more hope. What were you going to ask me? I interrupted
I was
you
going
twice.
to ask politics, faith. My faith in Jesus is a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
The number one. You interviewed Matt Chandler talking about people. You're talking about your faith.
Oh, yeah, you messaged me.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I haven't heard you. I don't know if I've watched enough of your podcasts. You do a lot of solo podcasts, but most of them are interviews, so you probably talk about it. But like Dale Brisby and faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
What? Why Jesus? What does that entail? Like I want you to unpack it a little bit.
So I grew up, my dad was like, I might have seen him have like 5 margaritas. Like he didn't drink, didn't cuss all that much, very straight and narrow. We went to church. He was like kind of like a hard ass cowboy, like a little bit of John Wayne and Billy Graham. You know, he had a fun side, but really I got the cut up side from my mom. But anyway, yeah, he was just this awesome human. And I try not to beef him up just because he died, you know, like sometimes like we remember things better than they were.
Yeah.
I try not to do that, but I just can't. I mean, looking back, like he was just an amazing man. But anyway, so in college, I was like, I've wondered, like, what if I'd have grown up in a Muslim household? How would I feel? And so I took this religions class, and I didn't get deep into, but it did this book, like each chapter was talking about a different religion. And we really focused in on like 15 or 20, but there's hundreds of religions. And the common theme for me, answering your question about why Jesus, the common theme for me with these other religions, it would have this one part of the chapter in this religions class where it said path to salvation. Mm-hmm. And all of them, without fail, outside of Christianity, involve some type of works, like works-based salvation. Like you had to do these things and then you could make it to their heaven or one of their levels of heaven. Yes, sir. And where Christianity was not that way. It was, you know, Ephesians 2:8, for by grace you have been saved through faith, not from yourselves, so that no man can boast. Yep. For by grace you have been saved through faith. So we can't earn it. Jamin, that same preacher friend of mine that I mentioned earlier, the way he likes to explain it is it's like you get to college, they hand you your diploma and say, now go to class. And that's how Christianity works, which is kind of the opposite. You know, like my employees work for me, they get paid on Friday. Like everything that we do in life is works-based. So I think that's why a lot of religions make sense to people that are works-based salvation, but that's not how Jesus operates. And so that class, like, and the other thing too, all these other religions acknowledge Jesus as a wise individual. But like Jesus said, I am God in the flesh. If you don't believe he's God in the flesh, then that means he's a crazy person. And so like all these religions like say like, no, he's a pretty good teacher. You know, he's just not our God. Like, all right, he's either a crazy person or he is God. And they all acknowledged him, but he was the only one that said, no, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so
Yes, sir.
that's where I was introduced to it by my dad. And then, you know, through all the things in life, I've stayed on. But I would say the core of my walk right now revolves around the study of, and my interns, I'm sure, are sick and tired of hearing about it because I read this book, Mere Christianity. It's by C.S. Lewis. It's called The Book for the Unconvinced. He doesn't use a lot of scripture, and he's since passed a long time ago. He wrote the book a long time ago. And it's a great book if you're like it would have been neat for me to read instead of going to that religions class, because C.S. Lewis used to be an atheist and then he converted to a Christian, and this is kind of explaining Christianity to someone who might be an atheist.
Yeah.
And it's just his version of like, logically, this is why Christianity makes the most sense. Well, he gets to this one chapter. It's on page 121. It's called The Greatest Sin. And he's talking about pride. And the opposite of pride is humility. But he breaks it down that pride is what made the devil, and humility is what made Jesus Jesus. Mm-hmm. Like they're literally opposites of each other. Pride is competition. So like we are three grown men, like when we feel that competitiveness with another, like calf roper, for instance, maybe a videographer, maybe another YouTuber, you feel this competitiveness, like, oh, I'm gonna go check and see how many subscribers this YouTube, you know, like that's my pride. Pride is competitive. Not all competition is pride, but all pride is competition, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
So humility is not necessarily losing the competition. It's not being in competition. So humility, like if you listen to the podcast with Trevor, for instance, I think Trevor is a super humble dude.
It's amazing.
We talk about that
personally,
all the time.
Personally, I think he's, and like one indicator of that is how happy he can be for someone else's success. And you probably know him on a more intimate level.
Yeah, no, I've just seen
that
it,
regard.
you know, seen how he is. It's amazing to be, like we talked about, that much of a warrior, that much of a competitor, the type of guy that's going to stand on your neck and win as good as possible, but still be so gracious in loss.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a friend, a enemy, whatever it is, he's just always the same person, and it's very, very impressive.
I think that, so I think that, you know, chasing after this humility is not saying like, it wouldn't be like, you don't have to call yourself a terrible calf roper to be humble.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You would just remove yourself from competition. And I'm talking about the dirty competition. I'm not talking about like go in the arena and try to win.
Right.
You know, like I said, all pride is competition, but not all competition is pride. And to me, he talks about in that chapter, the more mad pride makes you, the more pride you have. You personally have.
It's a cycle.
And like it's like, because it is competition. So if somebody walks in here, some arrogant YouTuber walks in here and it makes me mad, that's just because
Striking
now
the
he's
chord.
my competition. Mm-hmm. Where if I were humble, his pride probably wouldn't bother me that much because I'm not competing with him. And but anyway, what he talks about in that chapter is like he calls it the greatest sin because it's a spiritual cancer where like sexual sin, you know, drunkenness, like, you know, being mean to some, whatever, all these other things, like this is one that you could like almost go by the book but in the name of pride, you might not drink. In the name of pride, you abstain and you're abstinent. In the name of pride, you donate money, you go to church, and now all of a sudden you think you're this hotshot Christian in the name of pride. That's where it gets tricky. Is like, I'm a better Christian than you. I'm in competition with another Christian, and he says that pride looks down on pride looks down so much that you can never look up. And so, you know, the scripture where it says, like, did we not cast out demons in your name? Did we not? And he says, depart from me, I never knew you. C.S. Lewis thinks that it will be because of their pride. Like they were casting out demons in the name of like making themselves look like good Christians. And that scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Like,
that's deep. That's deep.
Because
real deal.
I've never drank. There was a time when I never cussed. Like I just walked that straight and narrow. My friends knew me as that. And I try to look back. Like I was really just trying to follow in my dad's footsteps. But sometimes I wonder, like, did I wear that as like this proud Christian thing? And sometimes I know I did. I think though, looking back, that I've been trying to go about it for the right reasons. But these last 3 years, that has like ate at me. I do this little Bible study. Sometimes like I'll put it on unlisted on YouTube because I'm not a preacher and I don't want to just like post like but I'll like, this is what I've studied. I'll talk to the camera like, yeah, this scripture is cool. I'll put it on unlisted, and on my little text app thing, I'll send it, and there's a few thousand people, and the video might get 400 views or something.
I need to get on that.
But I say that to say I don't do it as much right now because it's really just what I'm personally studying. But like it would just be so repetitive. I would be saying the same thing over and over because every week I feel like I'm having to tackle this like pride thing.
Right.
And it makes me identify like these humble people, like Trevor. One kid fighting bulls here now, Bo Sheath. He's a bullfighter here in San Antonio. Just this sweet little human of just like, and he can just be happy for people. Other bullfighters, because he's not in competition. It can get bad for bullfighters, but pride. Having been a bullfighter, I can say that.
Yeah. We've been doing this 6 months. I've been doing a Christian podcast for 4 years, starting in 2020. And then I kind of started hanging out with Ty, kind of started filming rodeos, and then this kind of idea came about where it's kind of like you were just kind of talking about rodeo. Yeah. But like, when I was on this journey, I found God. I got saved in 2020. On my podcast, I would kind of start to go really, really deep. And then I realized, kind of like you, I kept going back to this simple, same old thing that I realized everyone struggles with. And it's understanding and having it click in our minds that I'm saved by grace, not of works. There's something in our flesh and there's something in the human mind that we want we want to feel validation for not cussing. And that's what you're saying about that deep part about depart from me for I never knew you. It's like, why are you not cussing? Why are you not drinking? Why are you competing? Why are you podcasting? Is it just for you? Is it just for you to feel like you're accepted or to feel like you're Christian? Or is it truly because I love Jesus and it's a response to the cross? Like, yeah. Man, he died for me, and I was like that sin separated me from relationship with God. Mm-hmm. Everything motivated not by that is kind of meaningless, you know?
Yeah.
And God honors things, you know, God honors good parents, God honors family, God honors, you know, politics, you know, talking about politics. I think politicians don't always do things for the right reasons, but God still steers all things for good for those who love him.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I was thinking about Dale, I was like, I really wanted this podcast. Somewhere in this podcast, there's a lot of rodeo, a lot of fun, but I really wanted to dive into faith. For some reason with you, I just really felt about bringing it up, you know?
My dad it was crazy. Like, you know, we used to say strength and honor all the time with my dad, but I think what those two words really meant to me, I realized years after he died, like the two attributes I like connect back to him are faith and loyalty. Like he would, if you were his friend, he was in your corner, and he would drive to Mexico in the middle of the night to pick you up. But more than that was like his faith, and golly, it was crazy. I pray that I have the faith he had. I pray for that a lot. But the humility, you know, as much as I've been trying to study pride and identify that I have it, I'm also studying humility, and it has fascinated me, like just some of the people that I've come into contact with that I think have that humility trait. Somebody that you can just be with and not compete with. You know what I'm saying? Like Sterling Crawley, I think, is one of them. And I don't know, there's flea bites. That's what C.S. Lewis said.
Yep.
Drunkenness, sexual sin, all those things are mere flea bites compared to pride, is what he said. And yeah, I don't know. I think the church, I don't think I've made it a big enough deal through the years, but Jesus' humility is something that is to be sought after.
Yeah. It's just when, like you said, these guys are gifted with it. I'm not saying, I don't think I was, truthfully. I think it's very, very important. But it's also something very hard to battle, because especially like you, every day you're trying to be the best YouTuber you can be. Mm-hmm. Keeping that drive, you keep best at what you do, whatever Dale Brisby does every day when he wakes up, you want to be the best you can be. So keeping that drive, keeping that work ethic, but also in the most humble and way with humility, like you said. Same thing for me with calf roping. It's definitely a struggle and hard balance to find and maintain, I think.
Oh my gosh, I haven't figured it out yet. But
I mean, we literally talked to Haley too. I said, dude, how are you a freaking one of the most competitive people ever, yet most humble? She's the real deal.
She has it for sure. Yeah.
And she said that too.
For sure.
The kind of switching gears, hard shift to a little
more
lighthearted stuff. But JB and DB Bulls.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh man, we were just, golly, that must have been 2015 maybe, where we came up with that idea. It was just really kind of a joke. And then we did get some cows and had a few calves that we sold and swapped. He did all the work. I'm in charge of the apparel. He calls me the secretary. Now I think maybe technically there might be one bull, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a fun way for me to just joke with JB more than anything. But
you raise your own bulls from the ground?
No, I've only got like 5, maybe 6. I think I've got 5, and one of JB's is at my house. So I've got 6 at the house.
How many little hoppers me and Ty can get on?
Yeah, I got one.
Whoa. We talked about this before. You and Brogan can get on.
He can't get. He don't want to.
I got
hurt.
a dink. We call him dinks, but yeah, I got one dink.
He's a little slower.
He'll be the dink
the
against the dink.
I ain't even rid a calf in my life, cowboy.
You played basketball right over here at Shriner. Let's see how good you can ride a
played
bull.
college basketball. I mean, where do you think I'm at?
Do I think the skills will transfer?
Yes, sir.
No.
No, sir.
No.
Hey.
This one I got. Yes, I do think. Have you ever sat on a horse?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever sat on a horse where he ran?
Yes, sir.
Then you can ride this horse. You can ride this bull. I mean, but now you want to level up, one level us up from that. Then I don't know, man.
Hey, do you have?
It's a good start.
6th grade all around buckle. So
it's a good start.
Yeah.
But if you want, I will say, do not go to JB's house.
Oh yeah, he has mean ones. Probably just that.
He does have mean ones, and they buck. Yeah,
man. They say the scariest part about bull riding is when you get on the ground. You'll be fine.
Hey man, there's only one way to find out. We can test the theory.
We'll see what your schedule is. Dale Brisby's a tough guy to freaking get a schedule with, man. We're trying. Your life is busy.
Yeah,
you're in, you're out. San Antonio tomorrow, be gone Sunday. I mean, crap.
I love the booth life. If I won the lottery, I would still film I would do all the videos still, the podcast. I would probably just go to the booth a little less. Really? Booth life is hard.
You're there every day in Vegas. Every day.
It's hard. Yeah, that's the
you go
Super
every day
Bowl.
in Vegas.
Oh yeah. for like 5 or 6 hours.
Oh, buddy.
I'll sit in that booth. It is. I gotta sometimes leave because, like, if I'm there for 5 hours, which you gotta be on.
If you're not,
You know,
on,
like you don't.
Yes, you're
people
not valuable.
want the real you. They want. And by the 5th hour, I'm like, hey, how are you? And they're like, you hate this. And I was like, no, I don't hate it. I'm a little tired, but I don't hate it. And they're like, you're over it. I swear you hate it. You can say it.
You don't even want to take a picture with me.
It's like, yeah, you don't want to do that. Yes, I do. I'm here. I'd love to, you know. And but I'm just so tired that so sometimes I'll duck out just so they don't get a poor version of what they want, you know.
Who's the craziest people you've had come buck bulls at your place?
The craziest, he didn't get on a bull, but Steve-O was at the house.
You know who that is?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Cowboy Cerrone, did he ever get on? He got hurt, didn't he?
Yeah, he got on a bunch.
Oh, he
He
did?
didn't get on the PBR bull. His bicep tore off the bone, had to have surgery like the next day. And then that bull, Twisted Steel, died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do any bullfighting out there? Your interns on bulls? You get out there, get in the action, help them out?
I'll like help them if they get hung up or something. I'm no Cody Webster. We don't do. Sometimes we'll buy like a little, like we've had a little, maybe 4-weight from the sale barn that was mean. We'll turn them out. We'll all fight him.
That's a good idea.
But
Well, I mean, my athleticism may not transfer to riding the bulls, but it could
I bet you
translate
could fight
to
like
fight
a
the bulls.
little stag or something. I bet
don't
you
get
could.
don't get caught standing. Juke, go.
Yeah, you need to be on the move. That's for sure.
Make a move and commit to the move.
Right, for sure.
Don't freeze.
That's hilarious. So Joe Rogan thought they put the flank strap on the bull on the bull's balls.
Everybody thinks
Why
that.
does everybody
That's
think
crazy.
that? It's not hard to Google a picture and see it's a long ways from a bull's balls.
Yeah, or like some of the bucking horses are mares.
Yeah. What would you do if somebody came and got a hold of your balls? You ain't gonna run or buck.
That would be like the way to like get any animal to stop doing something. Yeah, I mean they might do it once, but they're not going to keep doing it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird myth, and we bring it up. We'll make a video every now and then that you know we'll go around like I'll flank, or just that the flank doesn't make them buck. I'll flank Boone, who's like 25 now, and he just kind of like turns and doesn't do anything just to show people that the flank doesn't make them buck.
Interns rolling through, you've been doing it for a while. What's the worst injury a guy coming through your program has had?
At the house,
At the house.
thankfully,
Worst injury at Radiator Ranch.
the worst one that we've had has been probably a leg break.
A full
Yeah.
femur break.
No,
Who?
was it? No, I think it was lower leg.
Who was that?
Both of them. Jace Stout, bronc rider. He's pretty good. He's I think he's in Jackson, Mississippi this weekend, but he's he broke his leg. Carlos broke his leg. I dislocated my shoulder a few times. Broke my collarbone out there. Mallet finger. Little stuff like that.
What is mallet finger?
Like how it's got that hook on it. Like it, I don't know. It just came out of it was just crooked like that. It's always been like that. Tandy said it was called mallet finger.
It's funny because when we were playing the podcast, we didn't know where we'd be. I looked up the beaches of Winnebago in my maps.
Yeah.
Didn't pop up.
Not very many beaches.
Yeah.
Not very many water sources around.
Yeah.
I looked up the satellite. I didn't see it.
It's a very sandy arena in between Throckmorton and Graham, Texas.
Yeah.
JB, so you said 2015 you started kind of getting bulls and stuff. What's that been like seeing his, so you PBR to PRCA in that time and now commentator / just personality. I mean,
Man, it's cool to be around him. He's just got such a different mindset. It's kind of like Trevor's in a way, in that it's not something you haven't heard before. They're just both really good at the fundamentals. But what's different about JB is just the element of the Dragon Slayer side of his mentality, where he would pick the rankest bull. Like if something had bucked him off, like that's what he wants to get on, in the draft. And so like, man, that's just cool to me. Yeah. That is a cool attitude. Like somebody that wants the eliminator, somebody that wants the outlaw. And so anyways, other than that, yeah, it's been neat where he's sometimes we'll go down to his place and interns will get on there, and he usually starts talking and I stop talking and let him preach. But yeah, he's
Jagger's a character too.
Jagger is a very well-behaved little boy. Like, he's wild. He'll ride a horse fast, and he'll like get on bulls at a young age. But I've babysat him like a few times. It went like JB and Samantha want to go out in Vegas, and I babysat him. And very well-behaved kid. Like, yes sir, no sir. Very kind. Will like be sweet to little girls, like little babies or something. Anyways, it's just funny because like everybody pictures him as this little Indian outlaw, and he's just not. Like, he's like, JB will say something, yes, sir. It's adorable.
I want to know, who are your favorite PRCA guys to watch right now? Any event, first ones that come to mind.
Man, Kai, like, won, I think, everybody's heart in 23, getting knocked out and then winning 114,000 that next day. Him and Stetson, like, Kai was going to go PBR this year, but he's going to go rodeo with Stetson now.
Yep.
Ryder, watching him ride broncs, like, that year he won the first 4 rounds. Like, just, they, in his little family, big family, they call him the Iceman. Kind of the same deal as JB, to be honest. Like, all 3 of them guys, like, they want the big moments.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We kind of talk about it in our intern program. Like, it's hard to interview. It's impossible to like be good at hiring, but we really want an intern. Like, you got to have the dog in you. That doesn't mean you have to show up here ready to make a 90-point ride on one of JB's bulls. Like, you obviously you got to start somewhere. But like, if you're not going to make everyone in the room better by, having try, like, if work ethic is a factor that's going to keep you from being successful, then we just don't want you on the team. And so it sucked that, occasionally when somebody comes in there with just a haphazard attitude, but like, I just like being around those winning attitudes like that. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, I'm a big fan of the Wright brothers, but yeah, Jacobs Crawley, one of my best friends. We were college roommates, went to 10 NFRs, 2015 world champ. There was a time when I could probably beat Jacobs in Jacobs trivia. And so cool. I was just a big fan and good friends, and he mentored me in the bronc riding quite a bit. And so anyhow, he broke his back a couple years ago in Greeley, took 17 months off, had back surgery, touch and go, glad he wasn't paralyzed. Anyhow, he recently made a comeback, and he's been coming to the house to get on my practice horses, and so that's been neat to be a part of. So watching him's been fun.
I have a fun question for you. We just interviewed Stetson. The episode before you is Zeke Thurston. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So Stetson, Ryder, Zeke. We didn't ask him any of these questions, but this will be a good input. Specifically, Ryder, Zeke, you got Stetson, and you can even talk like, you got Billy A. Bauer and these guys who are older. I mean, I want to know your take specifically on, on these guys, about who you think at the end of their career could come out on top to be one of the best.
Talked about like in the Mount Rushmore. You're saying,
talking about a Mount Rushmore.
Guys
Talk about
who could be the next Billy A. Bauer, the next Dan Mortensen, the next.
Yes.
I mean,
Billy won 5 world titles. He won 51 rounds at the NFR. He's on the Mount Rushmore, but like, I have just had this feeling deep down, like, I think one day Ryder Wright might go down as the GOAT in bronc riding. Like, that's just I just think with his Iceman attitude, where he just like never, like the 5th round that he actually bucked off of after, he won the first 4 rounds. Well, like, he missed his mark out on spring planning, which was just a really tough horse to mark out. And like, if there was if he'd have drawn any other horse that round, he'd have won round 5, and then he'd have won round 6 probably, because now you're back to the hopper pin. And I don't know, like, I think that he could go down as he's just got so much road ahead of him.
26 years old. I mean,
Yeah, but Zeke is salty, and he just never misses. Zeke has shown up, and he just puts on badass rides all the time. And then who else? Stetson. Stetson, all of the right, brother. It's just so simple. Like it's just so black and white to them. They don't get worked up, lift and stay back. And talking about bronc riding, and he's the same way with his bull riding. That's why he just rides so correct. He doesn't really like care about the draw enough to get the rein measurement on his horse, and it's just crazy how simple it is to them. Jacobs he's like an engineering major at civil engineering major at A&M, like super smart, like wizard smart, and so like he will like dissect a saddle and he's a practitioner and a student of the game. Like it was crazy. I asked him one time, like, who do you really mold? Who did you mold your bronc riding after? Because it was easy for me. Like I did whatever Jacobs did. I was banging my head against the wall. And so like, if he was wearing knee length tights under his to ride broncs, that's what I would wear. If he was wearing this type of shin guard, that's what I would wear. I did everything but lick my thumb and tap the top of his swells like they did. That was too far. But anything else, whichever finger he was running through, that's what I did. Finally just got like, I'm going to mimic this guy. And it worked for me for a short time. Then I got hurt. But anyway, I asked him one time, I was like, who do you mold your bronc riding after? And it was maybe the most confused I'd ever seen him. He was authentically trying to answer the question, but he was just like thinking, and he didn't have an answer because he was so focused on calculating his bronc riding. It was a very interesting, and he did ultimately say Billy Etbauer, but like would have been like his major influence, but he just broke down every aspect of the game. He's on my Mount Rushmore for sure, but I like the idea of somebody that takes winning that seriously, you know?
so I seen you go to a slap fight. Sorry, I got to ask that. Yes.
Yeah, they're cool. During the UFC, it's usually in line with the UFC. Yeah, Dana bought Power Slap. Golly, I mean, it is what it is. They slap the crap out of each other. Sometimes usually somebody gets knocked out. Like I don't understand it. Brutal.
That's brutal.
It's tough to watch, honestly. It's like when you get a UFC chokeout, knockout.
Yeah,
you have a fighting chance, but you're just sitting there waiting. It's
Oh my
hard to
gosh.
watch. And when they
What
go,
was it like in person?
they
That's
go to
what-
sleep on the floor. Like they'll go to sleep
yeah,
right
it's
there.
wild. I mean, it's just heavy hands, and we'll make little bets on who we think. But, woo, yeah. The UFC though, I mean, those are what are fun. Those are fun to watch. But Cowboy, like, we get in there and get to meet all these dang celebrities, and it's funny because Cowboy won't know who they are. It's like, Cowboy, come over here, take this picture with me. He's like, who is this? I was like, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's like, he's a quarterback for the Jets.
Legend.
Well, then he took me to the Tyson fight, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Michael Irvin. And he's like, who? I was like, get over here and take this picture with me. He's like, who the heck is Michael Irvin? I said, number 88, Dallas Cowboys. He was like, bah, I know who that is. And I was like, no, you don't. Get over here. He's like, yes, I do. And he goes, hey, Mike. And Michael Irvin turns around and he goes, Cowboy Cerrone, and gives him a big hug. And then afterwards, like he was just messing with me. And afterwards, he like showed me he has his phone number. And he was like, I do know who Michael Irvin is.
Hey, Cowboy introduced me. Give me that.
Right. Yeah, he's introduced like all them guys, like Miles Teller from Top Gun. Like he's like a huge fight fan. Big David Spade. Like all these guys like show up and they're just like, Cowboy is just kind of like, hey, what's up? Like doesn't really.
But on Rodeo for Dummies, we're talking about PRCA rodeo athletes and steroids, and like what is like, do they even test for steroids in rodeo?
Nope. No, I've known.
That's how you're the greatest bull rider of all time.
I've known rough stock guys. Yeah,
some steroids?
I've seen it in. Yeah,
You just see them crying. And
well,
you know
a
they're
lot
on
of
roids
them.
or-
A lot of them will take the ones I've seen at least for like recovering from injuries. But yeah, I mean, no, nobody tests for it. Yes, guys have done it. It's not like super prevalent, you know, because most people are taking that to get bigger. But like rodeo cowboys they want to be the best they can and recover from injuries and all that stuff. But yeah, nobody tests it. They also don't have like a concussion protocol. Like
that was the crazy deal about Kai, man. I
yeah,
mean,
that's what Kai thought. Kai thought he wasn't gonna get to go back, but like this ain't the PBR. No.
Just pay to play son.
Exactly.
You better sue their ass if they show you can't get on.
No kidding. Yeah, so he went and beat their ass.
Donnie don't look like he has CTE. He's pretty sharp. I mean, he riding them bulls and all them years ago. He looked sharp, but CTE, concussions, Cowboys.
Yeah. No, I think it's real. I think it's definitely real. I'm not saying it's. I like that we get to decide.
Donnie wasn't wasting his time with no hockey helmet. That's why.
Yeah, he didn't have no $100 hockey helmet, is what he told us.
Yeah.
Real Cowboys wear hats.
That was one thing Joe Rogan asked about. And it's kind of like, it's not just like it. It's only kind of like being in the bronc riding with no vest, you know, like Cade Bruno or Jacobs. I think Jacobs might wear one now. But anyway, I don't know. It's one of those things like it's already really dangerous. If you came to my house to get on a bull, I'd make you wear a helmet.
You would make me. Even if I said, no, I'm wearing a cowboy hat.
Well, I would strongly advise that you wear one. But like if Kai shows up, I'm not going to make him wear a helmet. Like there's just a certain level of, once you get to a certain level, I think you kind of get to make that call. But like my interns, like Cam the other day Cameron Grigg, he started working for me. He wanted to go with no helmet. And I was like, can you guarantee me you're not going to get jerked down? No, because this bull has jerked you down 4 times in a row.
The bull riding is pretty self-explanatory, but the saddle bronc, I mean, the only saddle bronc videos I see are the top 15 to 30 guys riding them beautiful. And they'll get bucked off, sure, but when they get bucked off, it's graceful. But
yeah.
I could imagine saddle bronc could be just as dangerous or even more dangerous than bull riding if you don't.
Saddle bronc is way harder to learn. It is the hardest rough stock event to learn by far.
Seems like it.
And then followed by bull riding, and then probably bullfighting, and then bareback would be probably the easiest to kind of learn the learning stages, but it is definitely the roughest. I think even insurance companies place bareback riding above bullfighting.
Really?
As far as danger factor.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess
Funny
probably
that's on insurance,
back when I applied for insurance at Blue Cross, I use a different company now, but I remember talking to the lady because I was just like told them I rode, and they were like, it was like bareback, then bullfighting, then bull riding, then saddle bronc, which I don't know who said it for them, but those were the events.
I know Weston Hughes didn't fare very well on the bareback. He got hurt pretty quickly.
Did he really?
Yeah. You haven't heard the story of Weston?
No, I mean, I grew up with him, but we haven't. I didn't know.
Broke his arm and all sorts of crap.
High school rodeo?
Bareback riding is that's a man's event.
Came off on the wrong side.
I mean, yeah, you're strapped.
I guess you got to
right
get
there.
on the correct way. Which side you got to get off on? The same side?
You just need to get into your hand. Which is like if you're right-handed, you need to get off on the right.
He
got off on the left, so he got hung
against
up.
his hand. And he was hung up
away from
a lap around the arena at Hillsboro. Buddy, it's bad.
That glove is so tight. Everything is so tight in there that if you get bucked off away from your hand, like he's talking about, like you're hung. If you get bucked off into your hand will come open.
Yeah. Same
thing in the bull riding usually. Unless it's a Brazilian rope, guys get bucked off into their hand. They can get hung up for a pretty good while, but it's much more scary to be hung up to a bareback horse than it is a bull.
Yeah.
Night and day. I'd much rather be hung to a bull than a bareback horse.
I mean, why? That seems bad, just bad all around.
Because the horse is like going fast, and we are going there. That bull might be right here. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, the injuries can be very similar when it comes down to it, but like the last thing you want to be is hung to a bareback horse that's running down a fence.
And nobody there to help you either. Pick them in trying to catch up.
Yeah, that's it.
But there you got Cody Webb trying to get in there and help you out.
Cody Webb says he loves a hang up.
Dude, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the GOAT. He's going to work it. There's 3 or 4 of them that are just in contention right now for just being the best bullfighters in the world.
Crazy. We're seeing legends right now.
For
in
sure.
The prime,
for sure. Every year when Webb, Tuck, and Nate go to the NFR, that's just the best of the best. Nobody is going to complain about their bullfighting. Nobody. But cool. To see him work a hang up is just pretty poetic. That was what we talked about this morning that I think is the biggest tragedy in rodeo right now is dude, there's bullfights. People will do standalone bullfights. So there will be events where you can go watch someone where it's just the bullfighter and the bull, no bull riders.
Yep.
So that's an entertaining thing. But during the NFR, whoever's running the cameras and whoever's telling the people running the cameras, if somebody bucks off, even if it's 2 jumps in, we've got those 3 greatest bullfighters in the world that I just mentioned out there freaking twisting these bad rascals up that we'd love to watch, but you follow this bull rider all the way through the locker room as he's throwing his stuff. Why would we not? Now, if it's a 90-point bull ride, obviously we need to watch Kai Hamilton and pay attention to him, maybe follow him after. But if this guy gets 2 jumped, let's change, and now let's applaud the bullfighters and let the camera follow them, then go back to whoever fell off. Yeah, I hate that the cameras. It's almost like they're trying not to show. It's almost as if they're filming the calf roping. Sometimes whether they zoom in. Yeah, that's what they're doing to the bullfighters. It's why are we doing that?
It's really 2 shows in one.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah,
because it's the most athletic guys in all of rodeo, and we don't get to see them on TV. Whatever.
That's
PBR
real right there.
PBR does a pretty good job of it, but we got to do better.
For sure.
There's been some changes, and so maybe this new group that is in charge of Cowboy Channel. That's just a suggestion from Dale Brisby, Teton.
They'll listen. They love it.
Well, no, listen.
Wednesday afternoon meeting, we'll talk.
Yeah, we got meetings with them every week. So
Dale Brisby says that we need to give more
attention,
TV screen time
to the badass bullfighters,
to literally the greatest bullfighters
possibly to ever live. Really,
exactly.
That was pretty cool what they did the other day at San Antonio, dressed up like that, like old school.
Oh yeah, and, Skipper Voss.
Yep,
dude.
And Skipper was here.
That was rank.
Yeah.
When we did that podcast with Cody, he was telling about his upbringing, his uprising, getting into bullfighting. He literally said, and I can picture it in my head, and if I ever get the chance to make a documentary of that great man, I'm recreating this scene. He's talking about fighting bulls in a literal junkyard. He's in a junkyard, cars stacked up, and in the middle they have stadium lights, portable stadium lights with generators, and they're just bringing bulls and fighting bulls in a junkyard. If that's not a movie scene, I don't know what is. I mean,
seriously,
that's freaking
wild.
Crazy. That's crazy, man.
That's wild.
I know.
I've not heard him say that, but I would love to be a part of it.
Seriously, I bet you will. You're the man. Derek Gated, he talked about roping bulls at the PBRs.
Oh yeah, 4.5 hours. We talked.
That's
what
I was gonna say. You had to talk about everything.
Yeah, I think he talked about being born, what is his first birthday. We talked about the most that I kept circling back to was them catching mavericks out in the desert. Out in the reservation. I mean,
it's crazy.
Yeah, how they'll go out there and stay for a week, and I mean, just imagine not just an old dumpy steer from the sale barn, like a 1,500-pound, 6-year-old bull that's never seen a human with sharp horns, ready to kill somebody. They'll rope them, tie them to a tree so they kind of get broke to it, cut off their left horn so that when they lead them out, that left horn doesn't, get their horse.
That's amazing.
He said the wilder they are, the better, because they'll lead better, supposedly.
Really?
But yeah, it was a lot of stuff like that. He did not want to do the podcast. It took a long time.
You asked him a bunch of times.
It just getting it scheduled, and I could just tell talking to him, but it was easier to get Coulter Wall on, I feel like.
God dang.
To NBA though.
But also he lives in Arizona, so it was easier. But I bet now that he done one, I bet he would do one with y'all for sure too.
Awesome.
Yeah. You'd probably get better. You'll have ask him better questions too. Cause
it'll be easier to schedule. It'll be the same places a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was funny because I see him at the rodeos all the time, and it's just, hey, how are you? Good run, whatever. But I had him in the truck from Clovis, California, and I dropped him off in Arizona, and he was talking sucker. I'm like, whoa, where'd this come from? You know,
Yeah.
It's shocking because he's so quiet and reserved usually, you know. But we haven't done one of these where I haven't learned a lot, and so that's been a cool part of it. I didn't think that we were going to start this podcast and I was going to learn and grow and have so much fun doing it. So this one included. Thanks a lot for doing this, man. It's been interesting and cool. So
talked about everything: content, faith, rodeo, PRCA. We covered it all. It was a really great podcast.
It was hard to I didn't even know where to bounce. I'm a rookie. I didn't know where to bounce from the faith because that was so deep and so good. I was like, where do we go from that?
No, it was such good. Thank you for carving out the time, bro. I know you're a busy man.
No, I appreciate y'all. I mean, we're both in San Antonio. It worked out. I appreciate y'all coming over here. So yeah, anytime. We can do it again sometime if y'all want.
Busy. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, no worries. On to the next one.
On the next one, old son, pow pow.
Rodeotime.com.